Come and shoot the breeze with myself and guests as we deep dive into some topics that may just pin your eyelids right back. Awesome. So thank you so much for saying yes to coming into this conversation around the first waivers, which was brought to the fore by Dolores Cannon, the beautiful Dolores Cannon, who put in many, 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 many years of discovery in what we were doing here, speaking with souls through deep hypnosis. And she discovered that there were teams of volunteers that had come through and that had their specific roles, and they came in specific times as a collective soul energy to embody here on the planet. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. And this group of beautiful ones here with me are the pioneers, are the first wavers that came in. And they're called the way showers or the wisdom keepers or holders. And I have my own take on how that all rolled for me growing up. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to read through a little bit on what Dolores Cannon, her description of what the first waivers are. So, three waves of volunteers and the new earth. So, the first wave of volunteers, often called the pioneers, were the earliest souls who volunteered to incarnate on earth to help shift the planet's consciousness during a period of great transformation. Dolores described them as having the most difficult assignment because they arrived before there was much energetic support from others of a similar vibration. And I think we can all high five to that because it was very like dense in energy, energetically, very dense. And I remember feeling as a child like what the actual, in respect to the system itself, seeing how this all rolled here and knowing as a child that this actually didn't fit me, the way that this was all set up just didn't fit. And therefore, I was in this limbo state right through my childhood and into early adulthood. And not till I got to the 30s. Couldn't even say it when I was 29, turning 30. I couldn't even mention the word because it felt like there I had some sort of anchoring within myself that directed me now as to what I was really, how I was going to implement what I knew I was here to do and become more so. So it was a very dense time. The characteristics, deep sense of not belonging, often felt different from childhood, may have felt disconnected from family, society, or earthly systems, frequently experienced the feeling of being from somewhere else. That was certainly my thing. I used to get into real slumps and go, I just want to go home. And I'd be looking out there, beam me up, Scotty. I just want to go home. I didn't know where home was. So it was a real desire to, yeah, what the hell am I doing here? Sensitive to emotions, conflict, crowds, noise, and dense energies, often empathic and deeply affected by the suffering of others. Many struggled with anxiety, depression, and feelings of isolation because they could perceive energies others could not. And that there was definitely something that I experienced. So I saw things and I felt a lot that others couldn't see. And in my time, there weren't mediums and clairvoyants. There were very, very few of them. Anyone who was speaking of anything around talking to dead people or, seeing things that weren't in the seeing eye. And that was my life. And so there was no one really to speak to. There wasn't any guidance coming through anywhere. It was a real trust for me. I really trusted spirit that were with me, and I didn't know who that was, but I always felt very protected, even though I was very hunted by dark. It was very scary many, many times throughout my whole childhood. Um, and very rarely fit comfortably into traditional structures, questioned authority, society conditioning, and established beliefs. And one of those very strong things that I know for me is that I feel we all came in with was a very strong desire for freedom, and that our soul was calling us to not to be held under the authority that was here. We were here to break free of that in whatever way that meant. I had no idea as a child, but I knew that was what I was here to do. And it was finding my way through how do I do that? Because everything, when I thought about my mum being a 50s housewife when I was born, she was structured into a certain, way of being in that time and era. And then for me it was breaking free of all of that was expected of me to be doing the same. And I never did the same. I never did anything that they expected me to do. And so therefore there was a lot of judgment and trying to pull me back into alignment with this system and this way that tradition always went. And it was just not what I was here to do. Um, so there's many things that the pioneers came in for. And I mean, you can feel that resonating. You know that this is who you've been and you are in this journey here. So with me just opening that up, who feels like they've got something there right now that we can go with? Who'd like to start the ball rolling? And your experiencing and what that felt like for you going through
I
life.
I will, Mandy.
Beautiful, Janine. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you for the invitation to be here and to be sharing this time with all these beautiful other hearts in the circle today. So I was born awake and aware, and everything that you've just shared yourself, that I didn't fit this world. Even 3, 4 years old, I could feel there was something wrong with the systems that I'd started to get to know. There was, the church being pushed into Sunday school and then being pushed out of Sunday school because apparently I was a bad influence in the class with the other kids. And going into the church and listening to this man up the front and just shaking my little head and walking back out of the church because in my little mind it was, what a load of absolute rubbish this man's talking like. But anyway, I had the ability to feel into people, and very quickly realized that nobody else in my family could feel into people like me. So I often got a clip around the head for stating what I was feeling in adults when they were in conversation with each other. And then sometimes my mother would use my ability to find out what one of her sisters were feeling when they were talking to her. So it just depended on what side of the fence I was on any given day, whether it was a good thing or not a good thing. But I sort of grew up with a father who pushed me strongly to conform with this world. He tried to pull me out of the Technicolor box that was my world and bring me into the little black and white box that was his world. And it's only when I grew into adult and looked back that I realized he was my strongest supporter. He was the one that pushed me so hard to be, in his words, normal, I could stand up to anything that was thrown at me by people, any name calling, any conversations about me, and there were a lot, and there was a lot of name calling. I apparently was the only one in the area that saw the world like I did. So I was that weird girl, that strange one, the witchy poo. There was all these titles, but Dad gave me the strength to say no to the world and stand there solidly in my truth. And in my teens, I became the rebel, and I was a rebel. And like I was the one climbing out my bedroom window to go partying at 14 and bunking school. And if there was a rule in the society, I would push it or stretch it in any way. And even now with speed signs on the road and that, I never look at them. I never ever see what the speed is in an area. I just go at my own speed, because yeah, it's just the rebel in me, pushing back against this world. And I became a mother very young, and even that was part of my rebellion. And so I told my family that when my children and my husband, that when the kids were growing up and off my hands, I was starting to live my life. And I didn't even know what that actually meant then,
Mm.
until the kids were growing up and off my hands, and I walked out of my marriage and I started really, truly finding myself. And so that was, that was a 20-year journey. And now I'm in the stage of it's like breath out, I've made it. I've handed the baton over to the next wavers and the new wavers, all the ones that come after me. I've handed the baton for the pushing back, for the breaking down, for all that type of thing. Now it's time to really, really come into myself, deeply into myself, and discover the incredible magic that is, well, I call it magic, but it's truth that is in all of us. And right at this point, I'm in deep observation of my mind. So life is presenting to me regularly shocking things, surprising things, things right in the moment. It's like, and then I watch where my mind takes me with it over days, over weeks, even sometimes. I watch what the mind does with that shocking piece that's come in. So I'm in deep observation at the moment, and of course with that, I'm also growing deeper into the stillness of myself. So yes, darling Mandy, everything you've just said, I absolutely 100% recognize what you're saying, or what Dolores has written about. We've got the shrub cutters and we broke the trail through, and we even now stand straddling the old world, the new world. We're stretched between the two because we're growing into this magnificence of ourselves, and yet we're still having to live and exist in the old world. So
Mm.
it's a fabulous time to be alive, and it's a fabulous, fabulous moment to open inward to ourselves and to find out exactly who and what we truly are. Part of
Mm.
that, just before I go, but before I let someone else talk, is also realizing that this entire world is built on stories. Like, it's just incredible. Like, 95% of this world is built on stories. And we had absolutely no idea before the last few years, and even in more recent times, that so many channeled messages, that so many beautiful ones that really are in their hearts out there serving humanity
Mm.
are right into stories. And, it's like even this. Even this waiting for our beautiful brothers and sisters from other civilizations to come here to us, all these years of waiting and looking at the skies for their amazing ships to land. Well, we arrived here, over the last 50, 60, 70, 80 years. We came into these bodies. It is us, and that's part of the great awakening now, is for us to go, hey, I'm already here. I didn't come on a ship. Although, Mandy, when I was a child like you, I often looked to the skies and prayed for my family to come and get me out of here. Like, so often, But that's the child, of course.
Mm.
Now I'm very, very pleased to be here, very happy to be here, and I committed to myself on my first breath that this would be the very last life that I ever have in a physical vessel without knowing who and what I am. And I know
Mm.
that's the same for so many of us. This is the last life of that. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
it in a really tiny nutshell.
Beautiful, Janine. And talking about the second waivers and third waivers that have come in, and many more now, there's all these other new news.
Mm,
Um, it's like, my sort of view of it is like we were on the front line, if you imagine
mm,
a battle up, we're going in front line, and now we've had the cavalry come in. And it's like we've been holding that baton for so long. And not just this lifetime though, that's the thing. And that now we can sort of hand it over, yes, but we still have a part to play. I thought we were in retirement. Honestly, I thought, oh my God, all these shiny, bright shinies have come in and they're just, right there with it all and getting in and right there. And I was like, okay, so now what do we do? I didn't want to be just doing nothing more because that's not who we are. We are here in an experience. experiencing. And so for me, I wanted to keep doing what I've been doing, but it's definitely shifted, of course, as we move more into that space that we truly are within, drop it in and embody it more. We walk a different walk. But with that, I can feel that we have had the experience, and our wisdom. It's like the crone and the matriarchs and the patriarchs and the divine, that we've had the experience now that we can share from, where these young shinies haven't actually had that experiencing to put behind it. And I feel our wisdom and knowing and these ancient wisdoms and codes that we've carried for so long, that we've been really releasing through and bringing through into this frequency here now, is really important and still got a place to play out from, and that we aren't in retirement, but we
Mm.
have now got some backup, and it's not such a big, heavy, oh my God, the weight I used to carry on my shoulders, like, was the world, it was like, it was actual, because I knew my mission here. I knew from a young child, and it was heavy to think of the big mission. And of course, that was just overplayed in my mind. And when I just brought it down to what am I actually doing? What am I here to do? Never mind everything else. It's just, yeah, you walk that. But beautiful share. And yes, I was such that rebel. I think most of us were, because we didn't want authority. We didn't want to
Mm.
be bowing down to anything and anyone. So yeah, God help our people that would, like, I think about our spirit guide, the spirit guides around us, all our galactic family and everyone that's been trying to herd us into directions that they know is going to be the best for us. And then next minute we're off going off in this direction. And I think how their hair, they must be bald, like they would have pulled out so much hair over our journey, and not listening and paying attention and just being real rebel. It just cracks me up sometimes. I have a moment in that, thinking about my journey. Beautiful. So Jane, would you like to, well, actually, I'll call on John. John, would you like to just speak into this? Thanks.
Oh, sound's gone again.
No. Yeah. Thanks, John.
Yeah. Yes, interesting. I can relate to Dolores's interpretation of what is going on. For me, it was slightly different in that I didn't have a spiritual awareness early on, so I don't perceive that I came in awake and aware, and it took until 40 years for me to reach that place, albeit that I felt like I never fitted in. Um, and that was highlighted to me by my mother, who passed 5 years ago, but she came back to me and said that she now understood where I was, because I was always the lost soul, the one who didn't didn't fit in, wasn't playing the game, all of those things, and she's was able to relate that. Oh, now I see what you were up to. I just didn't understand. And so my experience was that environment of no support whatsoever in a spiritual connection whatsoever. Um, and it wasn't until my first wife left, and suddenly the "to death do us part" decree was broken. And it was like breaking the spell, if you like. And suddenly it's like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm on my own. What the hell is going on? Um, of course, it was a slow journey, because I had 4 children to look after and keep a job. And so I was on the treadmill, as I perceive many people are on the treadmill of life as it is, just trying to make a living, trying to get by, trying to stay safe, trying to fit in, if you like, so that they weren't perceived as the weird one, the one who was, if you like, crazy, albeit that it's probably on a continuum of craziness. Um, so it was at that stage. So my journey was I walked into a spiritualist church at that time of my life. Uh, and I was coming from a science point of view, having been in a science profession. And it was like, okay, show me, prove to me. Um, I hear what you're saying, but I'm not sure. Uh, and over a couple of years, I had experiences of events that could not have happened in a purely physical world. In other words, there was a metaphysical perspective that had come in, and I had the privilege of listening to mediums give messages that were just really out of this world and proved beyond a doubt that there is life after life, however one might perceive that. And so it opens up a space of, okay, so what the hell am I doing here? You know, what is it all about? Who am I? Just the usual questions that start on the seeking quest. Um, and my way of coping with that was to read and to try and get more knowledge. And my perspective was that if I just got enough information, I might be able to understand what the hell was going on. Of course, it's a fool's errand. I became more, more and more knowledgeable, but in actual fact, it still didn't connect in with that inner peace or the connection to oneself. In actual fact, and that's a real journey. And so, you know, you do the courses, you take the workshops, you listen to the wise ones, and it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, good stuff. I'm still not sure. Um, and one of my real breakthroughs in one of the courses that I took, I got to understand that I had a belief that I wasn't worthy, and it literally unraveled my whole world. And I suspect that a number have that belief system because it is projected onto us one way or another by life itself, by the system, by those around us. And to suddenly realize, in actual fact, that that belief may not be true. I may actually be worthy in my own right. In other words, I don't have to do anything to be deserving in a real worldly way. And so it really was a major moment in my life in that, okay, what the hell am I here to do? And it brings in the whole notion well, then moved perhaps into meditation, all the things that the spiritual community tell you that you should do. And I use that word should because we're shouldered all over the place. And uh, so it's an interesting perspective to the point now where I can relate to the notion of being the observer. Just okay, we're in this crazy movie. It provides any experience that you may wish to take part in or not take part in. And here I am, and everything around me is going on, and it's like, what the heck? And so it's the journey within. And that's the realization that in actual fact, anything, everything, and nothing is available to us. It's all a big story. And we live by stories. We're attracted to stories. And some of them we even believe, even though they're complete rubbish. And so that's the journey, if you like. for me, to the point now where I haven't been doing anything for uh, a number of years, to be quite honest. I can't read a book anymore. It just gobbledygook. Um, I can't go to workshops because it's, oh yeah, okay, here we go again. Another psyop. Oh gosh, what am I doing? Um, I can't listen to another podcast because it's like, oh my God, they're on the soap opera, they're in that cult, they're just spewing whatever they believe out into their echo chamber. And so it's just an interesting place to be at the moment and concentrating on being one day at a time, one moment at a time, one breath at a time. And so that's where I am. Just for perspective, I, I just it was shown to me that we were brought up in the analog world, i.e., real stuff. No cell phones, no TVs, party line telephone, um, really connected to nature. We used to go out, climb trees, bruise our knees, and interact with each other. And now we've got this digital world where everything is going really, really fast. We're distracted with this, that, and everything else. And so I've had the privilege of being part of that transition, as I'm sure you have as well. And it's only when you can take a moment to reflect back and it's like, oh my gosh, we've been through the ride of our life. Didn't notice it at the time, but on reflection and contemplation, it's like, oh my gosh, this world has changed so much. Um, and I'm just in a place of looking forward to where it goes from here, because I think it'll even it'll even speed up even more so that it stays more still. And now we have the paradox of life. It's not this, it's not that, it's both. So I hope that covers a perspective that you might understand.
Beautiful, John. And absolutely, you know, when I was saying about coming out of part one, part two was just being. It was that there was nothing to do. Everything is done. It's all. It's just, it never. There probably never was anything to do, but it felt like there was. And now it's that part in just being and experiencing the embodiment of ourselves here, experiencing and being that frequency that just is. And I love it. It's taken away so much of the what am I doing? And you know, the questions you have over life as to what your life's doing and where you're heading. And there is nothing to head to. We are it. It's just a coming to center point within, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. And yeah, so get it, John. And thank you so much for that share. And Jane, will go to you if that's okay.
Thank you, and kia ora and namaste. This is an incredible honour. Thank you. I can concur and relate to all of what has been said. I have smatterings of familiarity. My experience of life, certainly as a child, was of wonder and awe. I really felt like I was in playtime, that I was in magic land. And I lived, our family were way out the back of beyond. I think the nearest house was about, in those days, 3 miles away. There was no transport. And so I spent my days playing with my dollies and my teddies and my dog and the nature spirits. And that's what I thought life was, because it was that for me. And of course, as I have come to know from part of my own truth, is that we can ever only know what is for us, and that is our own truth. It's all perspective. But in those days, complete innocence, of course, as children are. And I could see all these beings and I interacted with them, and I had an incredibly rich time. The interesting thing was, I also, when I was 2, and I can remember, I had a sister that was born, and she was one of those who was disabled in many, many ways, who couldn't converse, who couldn't walk, who was supposed to have basically been dead within a few months. So she became my world. And I learnt, without realising it, how people can have different lives. So I interacted with her, and of course I spoke with her telepathically, and I thought everybody did that. I thought that was perfectly normal because it was my normal. So that was an interesting experience. She ended up being hospitalised, and that is a story within itself. But my understanding of my childhood was that I was one of those who felt everything. So I could feel what people felt. And this is what created confusion within me, because I could watch people. We actually moved away when I was about 5 into a city. And then I became more connected with people, and I couldn't understand them. I could feel all this pain. I could feel all this misery. I could feel anger. I could feel others' emotions, and I couldn't understand it because within me, I don't know, I was just born with a joy germ. I just had this joy gene within me, and I remain very fortunately, even though, like everyone, or most people on the planet, my life has been a series of roller coasters. Yes, I've had highs. Yes, I've had lows. However, I've always felt that there was something within me that kept me safe. I connected with beings, light beings, angels, a whole raft of different beings, my whole life until I was 14, when I closed it off. It just got too much. I couldn't understand because nobody else talked about it. And so it just got too much. I'd had years where I'd been trying to go to sleep, and then I would have these beings come and say, "You have to come with me. It's time to go." And I'd say, "But I just want to sleep." "No, you have things to learn." So, like us who are here today, trying to navigate this foot in 2 worlds was my challenge. I managed to somehow plug into the world. So from when I was 14, I really strongly learned that I had to try and adapt and fit into this world. So I spent years trying to create an individual that could actually navigate through this life. How successful that was, well, it was just my experience. I was very blessed to have my teenage years in the 70s because I think somebody mentioned here, yes, I was one of those rebels. I went on protest marches. I was one of those who had the long hair down to the waist, wore the flower shoes, and I was an optimist. I loved that time. You can take the girl out of the 70s, but you can't take the 70s out of the girl. And I still have that. I believe that the human spirit, that within each of us, there is something that just keeps us going. And that's just always been with me. Yeah, so I've had ups and downs like everyone. Been in abusive relationships, had marriages, tried this, tried that. One time when I had a very deep learning when I left a relationship was that it was the first time in my life I realised I could say no. And I was told that night when I walked away that I had to learn how to be true to myself. I didn't have a clue what that meant. But I have spent years learning what that meant to me. And like a number of you, I'm in pass it on phase. I feel that I have a deep commitment. I've always had a deep commitment. There's been something within me. I've always wanted people to be happy. It's not that I'm a fixer or a rescuer. I just feel people's pain. And somewhere within each of us, I know it's okay. And I know there's a part of us inside that it's safe and it's okay. And speaking of home actually does reside within us. Physically, it may not be here eternally, but deep within us, there is that part. And yeah, I believe that this time that we are here is about self-mastery. That's the kind of conclusion at this point of this big algorithm of life that has offered so many amazing experiences, and recognizing that we are living in a place of duality, and somewhere along the line there are always gifts if we choose to look. And yeah, it's just learning, and I'm still learning. I don't have all the answers, but gosh, what a ride. I think that's what you said. Was it John? Somebody said, what a ride. And I believe if we can tap into that part in us that can actually celebrate what we've learnt and the gifts that have been brought to us, wow, I just think it's magic. Yeah, so I'm in pass it on mode.
Yeah. That's beautiful, Jane, and it is magic. Oh my God, I lived in the forest myself when I was a kid and in the bush. And the birds would be right there, just almost on my shoulder and speaking to me. And there was just this magic. I loved it. And today I feel definitely with this digital world that these, life's being lost in nature. It's, people are just not connecting, and particularly the kids. I have to say my granddaughter's very much nature girl, and I'm so rapt she was not a digital kid. My grandson definitely digital boy, and he lives a very numb, basically sort of world, really. Very different. But that is a beautiful share. Thank you so much, Jane. Awesome. Todd, would you like to chime in and share?
Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay. Well, thank you for inviting me. It's an honor and a privilege to be here with all of you today and in this incarnation or series of incarnations. I have spent almost 10 years having conscious conversations with people in Sology, close to 5,000 episodes now. And it's been interesting because many of the stories, the majority of the stories are very much like what I've heard so far. Um, it's interesting to have started those shows in 2016 and the evolution of the conversations and so on. Um, for me, I never even thought about a galactic, um, connection or anything. When I was born in South Texas in a very conservative Roman Catholic environment, big Mexican families, and lots of guilt and shame and confessions every Sunday, and or you couldn't eat the bread at the mass, and everybody knew you were bad. But I did have a strong connection to Mother Mary, even though I didn't really align with the Catholic Church, even at a very young age. But I also aligned with the consciousness of Jesus. I chose him to be my guardian angel, and I had some experiences in my younger years through my teens. And I never lost, I always felt as a child that I was special in the sense that we're all special. I didn't really know the word soul at the time. I just knew how I felt, and I was really virtually every day saying prayers. Whether I was a teenager with my first car, going out drinking with the boys, I would say prayers before I go out. I'd say prayers of thanks when I got back home safely. Just through my life, I was married in my early 20s the first time and went into the corporate world, the business world. I also started reading many, many books, 2 or 3 books a week for about 17 years, started at 22. And that was a great education, religions, philosophies, fraternal text, just all different kinds of things. Very little nonfiction. I mean, very little fiction. And I meditated, my first two Kundalini experiences about at the age of 25, and it scared me, so I turned it off and kept on going down the road. I hit 37 and had a few what you might call psychic experiences, but nothing that I could hang my hat on. And then I got on a plane and had history of seizures in my life, grand mal seizures, about 200 of them from the ages of 15 to 50. And I realize now that those were affiliated with the multidimensionality and so on. But on that particular flight, I had an out of body or near death and winded up talking to a beautiful 12-foot angel. And I understood now it was a walk in. I had reached the pinnacle of my career, and it was a choice point. I chose to stay. And then for the next 12 years, prepared me leading up to 2011 for what we all have now openly started to discuss over these last few years, the galactic connection, ascension, and all the things that go with it. It all kind of culminated. I was in my second marriage. I had a whole passel of kids, 6 altogether. I usually had 5 in the house. My wife, my second wife, beloved, rest in power. She was labeled as mentally afflicted, and I started to learn there was another side through her, and that it was very real. And we had psychic phenomena in our house. Our children were exposed to it. But the human part of it was very difficult. And I went from, a healthy 6-figure income, senior executive positions with the biggest companies in my industry, to going on welfare to try to keep my family together. And it all culminated on May the 30th, 2011 at 1:11 in the morning. and there was a big star that came through the forest, and it turned into the face of the cosmic Christ, and we had a conversation, and it was very interesting. He looked at me and he said, "What are you so worried about?" And I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I'm hanging on by, a thread, physically, emotionally, financially, mentally." Uh, my wife was going through the worst 8 days of our experience together. And he said, "I don't know what you're worried about because I've been watching over your family for 2 years and 8 months. And 2 years and 8 months earlier, she had swallowed a bottle of Tylenol PMs and died in my arms and came back. And that was a whole other experience that I would become more familiar with as time went on. Uh, and but a wave of peace and love, can just kind of washed over me, and it felt really good. Felt a lot like the out of body experience, actually. And so I looked back at him, and he was kind of laughing at me, like the way a parent would laugh at a child that's taking something too serious. And I said, "What's up with that?" And he said, "Well, you're the one of the unshakable faith. We're going to find out tomorrow. Your whole world's going to turn upside down." So sure enough, I got up the next day, and some things happened, and I went to jail. Uh, Came back 42 hours later, and my whole family was gone. I was evicted. I didn't have a car, didn't have a job, didn't have any money, didn't have any freedom, didn't have any reputation. Everything was gone. I spent 6 weeks in a room listening to one song called "Do It Alone," and decided I was going to go out on the streets and find my soul and find my faith. Not that either one of them had left the building. I just needed to confirm it. So I spent 2 years, uh, about a third of the time sleeping on the streets, a third of the time in a hotel, third of the time on a friend's couch. And a few months into it, by the consciousness of Archangel Michael, I was given the name Sology, which was very familiar to me. And I asked him, "What does that mean?" He said, "The other side of truth, and you'll figure the rest out." So 4 days later, I was instructed to open up a Facebook group, and I started writing prose and poetry and songs without pictures from the street with a flip phone. And anyway, I went through that 2 years, and then came off the streets. Got my two youngest back with me. Their mother had passed, and we started. I started Solar One Studios. Had a lot of aspects that were helping me. I lived next door to a cemetery. I would go walk every night, and I had a lot of encounters with all types of beings of this world and not, so to speak. Um, and I just through it all, through the homeless part, which is kind of not the right word in my opinion, but uh, that lifestyle had many, many divine episodes. I had uh, things that I hear people talk about on some of these bigger platforms that they treat like aberrations, which to me, talking to so many people over the years on my show, it's very common that people like us exist, and I don't believe that people really realize it, so they don't want to talk about it. And I've had many, and I don't really spend a lot of time talking about it because I like to hear the stories and the intelligence that the guests offer, because I feel like that's really where it's at. I'm with John on that. I'm not throwing shade on Disclosure, Conspiracy, Starseed, or Lightworker platforms, but I don't really want to hear too much of the how to and the needs to and the have to. I want to hear and feel and see and sense the other person, because I know they have tremendous code to share. And I think the big part of that is that people don't realize that this is very common. This is who we are. So ever since I was a kid, I've always felt this special thing, which is my soul. I've always had this conversation with this voice, which I now realize is me, just as that was the cosmic Christ and the tree was actually me. It was my higher self projecting back to me, just like you all are projecting back to me now. Um, and insofar as where we're at in the evolution that we all share, I feel like there's two halves. I think the first half was gaining awareness. And the second half is now what are you going to do with it? Understanding that there's no wrong choices, understanding that there's no need for judgment, projection, defense, that life is really the prize and the pursuit. It is the gift. Living is what it's all about. And whether we have a multitude of incarnations or just this one, and nobody can prove to me one way or the other, although I think deep down inside innately we know that we are eternal souls. But my point is to be present in this moment, to serve, to love, to be compassionate, to move forward in integrity, and the nobility that we all carry as uh, the amazing souls that we are, and to actually walk that talk now with nothing to lose, because there's nothing this world can offer to me that can take my soul or take my life, and I'm just really pleased to be sitting here in 2026 after all we've been through, and to see, because I'm very familiar with the demographics following solar geometrics over the years, which are pretty much paralleling, the collective. I mean, if you look at this situation right now, we have 2 men out of 7. So the percentages are going up now. But there is, something huge happening as we speak. And I think the days of we have solar flares and we have a 666 day and we have an eclipse and this and that. I think it's we've got to a point now where it's a full throttle game on. What works is what we've all been discussing, which is to take everything on as the creators that we are, be responsible for ourselves, uh, not point the finger out at anyone else, to know that everything that comes my way has been ordered by me. And I think our souls are starting to take over and take some command. Yes, through these demographics and the metrics that I've followed, there are more men coming in, there are younger people coming in. And it's insofar as, what I feel like my role is at this point is to, number one, continue to self source, continue to self analyze, to rely on myself, to take everything into myself, and that, as the tuning fork, so to speak, that I am, that my actions and my energy will be the contagious aspect of the soul that I carry and that others carry, and we start to see each other in equilibrium. So these young people and others that are coming on now, um, I feel like that is a given. I don't feel that the anything this world has put together, the infrastructure, the programming, the conditioning, I don't care what it is, we're pretty impervious and impenetrable. We've overcome GMOs, fluorides, chemtrails, programming, and everything else. And we still continue to transform. And now it's reaching the physical nature. And I feel like that it's very soon now that we'll be seeing some quote unquote supernatural abilities being displayed by folks like us. And I'm not afraid to say that. And maybe that doesn't show up in the way that we might think from a human comprehension level, but from an energetic level, from a tuning fork level, I believe it's already happening. It's been happening, and it will continue to happen. So I'm just very honored, very privileged to see the team expanding, both in the physical and the non-physical. And I feel like that the best is ahead of us, no matter what, as we continue to focus and be responsible and run everything through ourselves, because as within, without, and that's the nature of the human being. And I just want to say one last thing. I agree with whoever said it. I am in a mad love affair with the human being. I feel like that our uniqueness is our broad emotional spectrum, and that we have come to a point now where we've brought balance to that vast emotional spectrum, which our other aspects and star family and such look upon us with uh, just tremendous respect. We've turned the weakness into a strength. And as we move forward, I believe that the creativity that we will start to express and that we are expressing is going to go into like steroid exponential mode, because we have this new material to create with, which is the combination of the physical and the non-physical. You might say sacred sexuality, the root or whatever. But yeah, I feel like that the best is here, and I'm really anxious to bring people together, hear their stories in a multitude of ways, see their expressions. That doesn't have to be verbal, and just to see what their light is all about, because their light is my light and my light is their light. And yeah, game on. Thank you very much.
Oh my God, high five, Todd. So that, look what they've thrown at us over our life, and we are here. And I was going to say all that at the beginning, what champions we are to have got through what we have got through, and that this body has done everything it's needed to do to keep us alive and keep us well and in this state of awareness and being. It's so, so cool. And it's such an exciting time right now for where we are up to. We've done all the hard slog, and now it's just, oh my God, have fun. The joy chakra's definitely started to really activate within all of us. I reckon it's like, yeah. All right, we'll go Sylvia and then Bev. Thanks, Todd, for that share. That was lovely.
Hi, yes. Oh, how wonderful. I'm being so stimulated and excited by this conversation. It's so glorious. Wonderful to be here with you all. Yeah, of course, huge similarities with all of you. I was trying to find words for it, and then you said it, Jane. I think I did live in joy and innocence for my first baby years, yeah. In nature, even though it was suburban, but it was a pretty magical life. And I think I had a pretty strong connection back then. I think I was probably chatting with the fairies and seeing ghosts. And apparently my brother said, ghosts don't exist, and bang, I was shut down along with other things. So I think I've had two parallel strands. One is this actual world of wonder that we've been talking about, which is, I think, recognition of the soul force, which is me. And that is like, that has always been a constant. It has always been at the core. That will always be there. That is who I am. But I certainly haven't had a name for it. In the early days, like you guys, I grew up in it was a fairly sort of Protestant, my argument was I haven't been too affected by religion because it was so loose. But, like, for example, I didn't have to, rebel against, my Sunday school we had an orchard at the back of the old house where the church was, and with this beautiful old couple who peeled apples for us. It was pretty sort of, Garden of Eden type, So I didn't receive any dogma, but you still take on all the values, and you take on this thing of life is about battling, and life is about being a spiritual warrior, and life is about you need to get better and better and better. So I took on a whole pile of garbage that's and many, many lives as in those traditions also. So the unraveling of that, the religious strand has certainly been a journey in my life. But I've had the core innocence and love, which I retreat to. Me and little Sylvie hang out here in my beautiful place in the country and just enjoy all those simple things. And then the other parallel life, which I've spent probably all my years unraveling, is the one linked to what John said, which is the I am not worthy statement, which I'm sure we've all encountered, which is having tracked it back really recently in the last 2-3 years, is to do with, of course, womb trauma and mother and then, abuse at the age of 6, which basically shut me down. So my path has been through, I understand it's so great to hear you all because it's made it very clear to me, being fully silenced, literally probably being told to be silent and not talk, and then that being transferred into, well, then I don't talk about anything real, who I am, or these things don't need to be named. They just sit in this other zone, which I know to be my truth. And so then, of course, my world turned into a world of words. And luckily, I was guided to the only place I really could go, I really feel, was the creative world, which was theatre. So I was able to go into this world where the self was constantly being deconstructed and reconstructed and broken down and illuminated and all of those things, but very embodied practice, which is really what I teach now, and what's probably kept me alive, is this feeling that you can keep bringing it back to the body and the word and the soul. And but all the way through, it's like, I think the biggest joke, really divine joke, is, that I've been teaching, the authentic voice for the past, 35 years. And of course, my journey has been to move more and more and more into that stillness, that center, which has always been there, but hasn't had a name. And coming back to it and returning back to it and claiming it. And so I feel quite emotional, standing for it and living it and embodying it. Sorry, don't know where all this emotion has come from, but as you all know, it's been a very bloody long journey, and with endless shit, frankly. And seriously, seriously, they want me to go another round on that? Really? You mean I got to do that one again? Really? It's like, is it ever going to stop? And that cycle of, well, I'm thinking now, I don't fully know, but is it the interference that's happened to a lot of light workers, that there has been interference to keep us down, and I would reach a peak in my life and then it would drop away, much like Todd was saying, and then I would reach a peak and then it would shatter and drop away. So that's been the most constant cycle, that there isn't ever this sense of being able to build through. But then when you think about it, what would I have been building through into? Just another layer of 3D reality. It's those moments of the shattering, isn't it, where we drop down into who we really are. So yes, when my marriage went, when I was early 30s, that was when I started my sound healing work. I mean, these were my portals, these were my pathways. So and all the other wounds and trauma moments since then have all been portals into deeper layers of learning. So I am always hugely grateful for them. But like the idea of hanging up the rack, in the last 3 years since I've been living in a more rural environment here, just feeling, just because of my health, having to rest, and then thinking, oh, well, hang on, am I allowed to rest? Perhaps I'm allowed to rest. Oh, okay. Oh, I seem to not being felled because I've been on the couch, for the afternoon. I seem to be. So it's like just understanding, again, this thing that moved me deeply, what Todd was saying, this idea of being, like the Christ, our all my teams and all of my beloved source and Mary and Yeshua, I'm very close to, coming and saying, you're allowed this. My challenge is receiving. I'm terrible. So, because of course at the age of 6 I decided I had to do it all myself. So I've done it all myself, and it's been tiring, and now I have to move into that moment where I really do hand it over fully, to the divine, and understand that, the worthiness has got the tick, as every soul innately has, actually at birth, but we're not told that one. So having to sort of rediscover it over a very long time, which is a fact of life, that every soul is love, every soul is divine, every soul is worthy. So so it's been beautiful journey, and as you've all said, you know, wow, what a life! I'm so glad I put my hand up. So glad I got chosen to come on this round. Because wow, I mean, what things we have seen, and to have journeyed through these last 5 years, even with the layers of understanding that we have access to, it's very moving and very amazing. And sometimes I feel sad for people who aren't getting all these other layers. Of course they will get them, but it's going to be more like a that having been able to live through these understandings as they grow in us, and the mystery of life, I think, is very amazing. That the teachers, I was just thinking, I started with this very pure connection to source, I think, and then that probably got trampled on, but somehow lasted. I remember I got my first astrology reading when I was 17 from some fabulously powerful chap in Nelson, and he said various things, and I went, oh, right, okay, oh, okay. So that was a lot, like my first homecoming, and then finding my first spiritual teachers, and it's pretty miraculous, isn't it, really? I mean, the guidance we've had on this journey, that you're there and you're in that vortex or that hole that you've dropped into, and then bang, there is the next person, there is the next movement, there is the next. I mean, our guidance is, even in the worst and most horrid times, it is with us. And for me, my journey has definitely been about, my journey's been very angry at God. Yeah. Very angry at the divine. I've had a lot of rage about, what the F is this. And so that's definitely been a part of my journey, to reach the point of surrender and pure loving acceptance of this source intelligence and what is actually holding us all in place. And then my recent journey with the galactic with my galactic guidance and this channeling I've started, and I'm thinking, well, heavens, what am I doing? Where's this coming from? But it's like, they're my friends, and I just want to honor what I'm being given, and it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be anything. I mean, it is just simply what it is. But I guess over the years, it's been a hard thing to trust. It's been a hard thing to trust the gear changes. And it hasn't been a hard thing to do. I love it. I feel blessed and filled with wonder. But in worldly terms, it's, as I think John said and others have said, my life was all about trying to be PC, trying to fit in, trying to squash all this. I mean, basically, in the voice work that I taught, through the acting profession for 20 years. I mean, I've always been teaching very deep spiritual principles, but completely hidden. I don't name them as such. I mean, they are that. I mean, they were named, but not overtly, as this is spiritual work, because that wasn't what I was employed to do. So I've been sort of undercover, doing spiritual work all my life, really. And I've been very honoured to be actively involved with it. I haven't had to do other things. I've been able to always find the window for the work message to get through. But it is also a great, great pleasure now teaching a group of people who are understanding what is possible to receive from this work. So therefore I can go deeper with it. It's a great joy to move into that authentic expression and that authentic voice, and find the words for where we're at, and also to learn the power of silence and stillness, which actually I learned when my grandson was born, which is don't interfere with the parents. So I've learnt silence very quickly, and that was a wonderful, wonderful thing for me to learn. So yeah, it's been very, very powerful. So I think that's probably me. It's been I felt like I've been coming out, And for example, I still don't have a website after 40 years because the terror of being seen as who I truly am is has been a constant in my life. So there are various reasons for this in our past life and our spiritual patterns from past lives, etc. But so for me to put a name on what it is I do and who I am, and to really share it, the good news is it's very close. So that will be my final step of coming out. That will be a very exciting thing. But that's definitely been part of my journey, is that the people don't get me, I don't fit in. And then the joke is, then some actor friend says to me, but you're a white witch. And I'm thinking, oh, shit, have they been seeing it all the time? So, so then I realised I've been busy hiding, but it hasn't been working. So, so the relief now is that, let's just get rid of the hiding, and having said that, I don't name who I am, don't have these conversations with my family at all. So, but these are all the separating pathways that we're all aware of. I mean, I just try to stick to the principle of good hearts and love, and stay connected. We don't always need the words, actually. We can just stay connected through good hearts and love, and the choice that I don't want to lose these people from my life. So I will find a way to dialogue. Yeah. So that's me, I think. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sylvia. That was gorgeous. And, I went to a school reunion and hadn't seen friends that I'd really hung out with for quite a few years. And I'd got into all of this by then, it was still very young, but they said to me, what are you doing now? What are you doing? And when I told them what I was doing, which was healing and teaching and all the things, they just went, oh my God, that was so who you are, wasn't it? That was always who you were. And I really thought I'd been hiding all of that. Nobody saw me. Nobody understood. I was like, oh my God, next minute, here I am. And that was sort of it was a shock. I was in shock, but it was also a relief. Like, yeah, there is no hiding. We are who we are, and we cannot hide from it. We've never been able to. And now I think fully we are being seen more than we ever were. So it's beautiful. Thank you so much, Sylvia. It was gorgeous. And Bev.
Hey, Mandy. Hey, everyone. It's a great honour to be here. My life actually started quite, I had a very harsh life as a child, but I did need to be born, as I found out later in life, that I needed to be born at the Porongrups, which is one of the oldest mountain ranges in the world, actually. It's not very tall mountain range anymore because it's been so eroded by millions and millions of years of weather. And we lived on a farm, and we were like 35 miles from town. So it was definitely, we didn't see too many people. And I spent a lot of my time playing in the creek. Now, while I was playing in the creek, and because we lived a long way from anywhere, there were no Aboriginals in our community. We didn't hear about them. There was nothing, except I knew how to make myas, and I knew how to use the plants to make decoration, and just knew how to be in the bush. And my folks, well, my dad died really young, so I don't really remember much about him. But my mother was an alcoholic, and the trauma that created caused me to rebel as well. So at 14, I was sneaking out the window because I loved music, and there used to be people practicing music at the hall. But not only did I go at 14, then my 12-year-old and 11-year-old sister used to sneak out with me. I mean, how young is that? And nobody ever tried to stop us. It was like we just had this life where there were no rules. So breaking rules really didn't matter to me because there wasn't any to break. And every time I would try to say that I felt something or I knew something, it was cut off. So I didn't think that I had any ability to do anything. The only thing I wanted to do was look out the window and not be present in school. We moved into the town when I was about 14. And I used to go to church. But the reason I went to church was so I could sing and nobody would complain about my voice. And yes, used to sing at the top of my voice as loud as I could. Then I married a man who was, honestly, he had the best voice you could possibly imagine. And he did totally, totally beautiful. And he used to go, "Don't sing around me." So that shut me down even more. Yeah, he's quite the man. And so from then it was a really scary thing for me to use my voice. And what do I do now? I'm a sound healer. And I think I'm quite good at it too, by the way. And the first time sound ever came through me was my Aboriginal guides. They came through and they just blasted this workshop that I was in, frightened the heck out of me. I didn't know they were there. They just absolutely erupted all the way through me. And since then, of course, it's expanded, and sometimes it's my Maori ancestors. Sometimes it can even be Japanese. It just depends on the people that I'm working with. That's the sound, and that's what comes through. One of my biggest learnings was I came to New Zealand just for a holiday, and the land spoke to me and went, "You need to move here." I'm 55, got no money, you know. By now I'm living on my own. So I went, okay, I'm going to go back to New Zealand and really check it out. So I did. I came back and I spent a month here and I went, oh, okay. So I went home and I sat and I thought, well, I'll just do what I can to get prepared. Well, Spirit had it so beautifully organised that they gave me the money that I could shift with. My daughter didn't tell me she was pregnant, so I didn't find that out until I had moved to New Zealand. The man I was seeing told me the trees had told him that not to interfere with his girl because she had to go. So I had all of these things happen that made me land in New Zealand, which is where I am right now, just for a month. And I've spent 9 years here. Well, it was the greatest learning that I possibly could have had, being this person that thought I knew a lot, by the way, landing here and finding I knew very little. And so it taught me so many valuable lessons. And just before COVID struck, I got sent back to Australia. It was like so clear, you need to go now. And so I went back home, which was really the best thing that could possibly have happened for me. And I thought my life was done. That's it. I'm not doing anything more. And then Mandy called, of course, as she does. and I had an astrology reading who said that your life now will begin at 70. Really, all of your life has been below the surface. So a lot of my teachings have been around the shadow aspects of a person. So looking at trauma, really looking deeply at what holds people back. and it was my learning as well because of the trauma that I'd had as a child and in my marriage. I really needed to remove that so that I could step into something new. And since I've been here, I've only been here a week. We had 22 turned up on Wednesday night. We've got almost a full house for Sunday, and we're running a Healers' Rights on in a couple of weeks' time, and that's almost full as well. So it's like I've had to spend nearly 70 years in training, and it feels like now I'm stepping out. I've been resting for a long time, and now I'm stepping forward again. So, yes, it's been a really long, traumatic journey, but I'm here and still standing. And I've got so many beautiful people around me that hold me, encourage me, and keep me on track. Mm. I'm sure there's lots more, but that will be enough for today.
Beautiful. Thanks, Bev.
Mm.
Oh my gosh, and that's it. We walked in front of or before the collective, and we had major challenges to go through to bring the awareness of self in and learn that those challenges are not who we are actually, and move through them and awaken more to the true self within. But oh my gosh, what a journey, all right. And like you were saying, Todd, about your, soulology podcasting and the conversations you've had and seeing how the conversations are changing, and have changed over time in the awareness of each guest. I was finding that with healing work, with working in the fields of bodies, on the clients and people that used to come in and still do, and watched and could really witness it. My hands read it and I'm seeing it all. Is the change in the field and how much that shifted and what I call them templates. They're like new sacred design bodies that are coming through and in and landing in as we land in body more. It's like that. And the patterning or the design of those are changing and the strength within them. And it's been a really beautiful thing, but it actually proved, because I'm one of those girls, I've always asked so many questions. Oh, yeah, that's that, but what else, And I've gone deeper and deeper into so many rabbit holes, but not on so much the conspiracy or whatever this stuff is, we might call it around the place now, distraction. More in the healing ability of the body and what this is and what are we actually walking here in, this incredible vessel. And what I'm loving now in respect to it is that these new ones, call them new ones, the beautiful souls that are landing in form now are coming in an upgraded vehicle. We came in with one of the old Fords, and now it's a bit hard finding parts for them because, but they're losing their place in it all. But we've managed to really upgrade, and warrant fitness has become, a little bit maybe harder to get, but we're getting there and we've got there. And in these new souls coming in, or these souls now coming in, they have got upgraded bodies and they have not had to embody and go through what we went through in respect to the trauma and the ancestral carriage that we've come through in, that has collected up all of that memory from all of it throughout time and space. And now these ones have a less of a journey in respect to, like you were saying about shadow work, Bev, in respect to clearing anything. It's very quick. And what I've been getting in communication with the new souls coming in to form now with parents who have really woken up is that they're not coming in for the bloodline any longer. It's not going to be about the ancestral tracking of all of that. It's purely their divinity and their gloriousness. Oh my God, it's so exciting. And I thank you so, so much. I'm just going to get you to all unmute. And if there's anything else that you feel like you'd like to share in respect to being triggered into something else with other people's shares, with everyone else's shares, please do. because it's been a very interesting and beautiful conversation. And knowing how much we have all gone through in this, I just honor you so much and thanking you so much for your part in all of this and coming into this conversation as well and sharing your journeys, because it has not been easy. And there's many, many moments we've dropped to our knees and thought, just take me out. Like me, I'm standing outside like this, beam me up, Scotty. Like, come and get me, I'm over it. And then something major would shift that would take me into the next part. Oh my God, it's so cool. Anyway, I'll shush. And has anyone else got anything else to share?
I'd just like to finish off my part with that. For me, I've found that the more I step away from the stories, the more I recognize that everything is a story, and I step away from it, the more I don't know, the more I realize I just don't know. But in the not knowing, I find the depth in myself, so that there is an innate knowing that grows into that space where the stories took up all my life. So that's, so I'm becoming quieter. My life's becoming simpler. I don't need so much. I don't ask for so much. I have no expectation of so much. Like, it's all just stuff out there, It's the beauty, the purity is found within us, and that calls me in deeper and deeper. So give me the silence, give me love. Like, the love of every human being is what feeds me, and it feeds my own love. And that's where I am. That's where you find me. Thank you, Mandy, so much for this. Thank you, everybody. I've just been so present with everything that you've shared. It's just been absolutely beautiful, been a joy to my heart. Thank you.
Thanks.
That's the beauty of coming into our cronehood, isn't it?
It is.
We need
Sure is,
less.
Beth.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, thank you, Janine, for those beautiful words. I concur with what you're saying, and for me, certainly at this place in my life, I'm noticing that I have a much deeper gratitude. Just gratitude. Just having a clearer, what I perceive anyway, a clearer perspective, a different lens on life and how I engage with life, and but the gratitude, the depth of gratitude, and as you said, Janine, simplicity, craving a much simpler time with myself, with life, how I roll through life. Just going back to that simplicity, and almost having to say, it's like, my gosh, I'm recognizing the circle, from where I started. Having that craving to be with nature and having the simplicity, it's like, oh God, and I'm back here sitting in Titirangi with the beautiful bush and the birds. It's like coming back to what was innately familiar and my inner place of home. And thank you, everyone. It's been an absolute delight, and thank you so much, Mandy. Beautiful work, just acknowledging you and your heart. Thank you.
Thank you, darling. Right. Anyone else? No? All good? Beautiful. Thank you. And you're so simple. My book is called Simple Harmony because it is so simple, and we've made it so ridiculously hard. And what we've done in that full circle is we come back to that simplicity and knowing what is really important, and that is loving each other. And, my little slogan is kindness is gangster, and I just believe that is coming back more and more. Kindness is coming back and into humanity's realm. It's beautiful. Never got lost, but it did get smothered a little. Awesome. Well, thank you, beautiful souls, and for your journey, as we're saying, and for all you bring, all you be. Love you so much, all of you, and thank you to all our listeners and everyone that's that's chimed in. Energetically, we're making waves.
Lots of love. Lots of love,
See
everyone.
ya.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.